Support everything we do at MWP News by visiting ko-fi.com/MWP News. Every donation helps us stay independent. For breaking entertainment news, reviews, and more, check out MWPnews.com. If you love games, head over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@MWPNewsGaming for reviews and gameplay. Links for all of this will be in the show notes, as well as links to the other podcasts. Thank you for your continued support. Good evening and welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam. So, let's talk about The Paper, the newest show that is a spin-off of The Office, which I think the interesting thing with this show is that I go back and forth on it. I think that really it's like the show itself is kind of, I don't want to say bland, but I think bland is probably the best word I can use to describe it. It's fine, but there are a few things that I want to note about this, and this is really why we're talking about this. We really don't do sitcoms on here. Like, we did that 90s show. We don't really do that many sitcoms on here. But first and foremost, this show feels more like a spiritual successor to Parks and Rec than it does The Office, because The Office is about the office, the goings on in this office. It's not until the second season, which granted season 1 was 6 episodes, but it's not until season 2 that this was, you get to see them outside of the office, and even then, they're few and far between. It's like half the Dundies episode, the Booze Cruise, the what was the other one? The one where they fight at the dojo, like all that. You don't really leave the office. It's about their lives here, and I think that the interesting thing about that is it creates this this situation where it's like these are characters who have nothing else to do. There's very little else to do in the town of Scranton. So it is, you have these, they're going out there, they're having fun with each other. Like, the relationship between Jim and Pam is kind of all the two of them have. So it is kind of this thing where it's like, why is that, there's a bleakness to The Office. Parks and Rec has an optimism to it. We refer to it, I've seen it referred to as the Obama-era optimism. The idea that, government can be used positively for change. And it's something that we look at now and we're like, this feels a little naive. That, good people will get involved in government because good people want to do good things for other people. And it's like, and there is an optimism to Leslie as a character that is missing here. That's missing from The Office. No character has that on The Office until you get to season 9 when Jim is trying to start this new company in Philly, and it's him trying to get out of the eternal purgatory that is working as a paper salesman in Scranton. It's the most boring job you can think of. So all of that said, moving on to what The Paper is in itself. The other thing about it is, we talk about this idea in Star Wars of the implicit character development, which is these characters, when we don't see them on screen, they're still doing shit because time is progressing between movies. So, when we see, Luke and all of them blow up the Death Star, and then it's years later and we're now on Hoth, something happened there. So we can extrapolate the character development happened. And in a sitcom, that also exists to an extent. The idea that, we're starting out the next episode and it's a new day and it's a new, it's the next week. Especially considering we're doing a week-to-week formula and it's following real time. The paper, because they dropped it as a binge model, it loses that. Because we got all 10 episodes at once, and I watched them 7 and 3, which was not the best idea, because it's actually a half hour, not 23 minutes, because they released it 7 and 3. What you end up with is a situation where you don't really get that breathing room to get to know the characters better and allow the characters time to change off camera. And I think that the week-to-week model will always serve sitcoms better than binge. And I think I'm just baffled as to why Peacock decided to dump them all out at once. I think that was a very poor decision on their part. And the other thing is, when you watch this season, it feels like when they were developing the show, it was originally developed for network TV. And then later was adapted to be streaming, and also with a cut episode order. Because this feels like a show that was designed to have a 22 episode season, not a 10 episode season, because the pacing is really fucking wonky. Because like episode 1, it's, Ned's taking over, and he's coming in to the Toledo Truth Teller to take over as the editor-in-chief. And then you get like this first batch of episodes, which is him trying to like teach like the fundamentals of journalism to these volunteer journalists who work with the company. The company that I forgot the name of, but now owns Dunder Mifflin. And that's the thing, is that it's like, so that's like 4 episodes, and then kind of on a dime you get these character shifts where it's like, all of a sudden, I forgot her character's name, the Italian woman, all of a sudden she is no longer actively trying to get Ned fired, which is kind of what she's doing the entire first 4 episodes, but now that's not her thing anymore. Now she's on board by the time you get to episode 5, and they're doing actual journalistic work. Then you get to episode 7, where you get the, what's it called? Was it 7 or 8? Where you get to the, them reporting on the parent company, and then you get to episode 10, and they've won an award for journalistic excellence, which, like, this is and you get the slow burn of the relationship between Ned and, Ned and Mare. And by the time you get to the end, you get their kiss and all of that, and it's like, very clearly, this is meant to be 22 episodes, because with 22 episodes, you get time to breathe. You get time for characters to find themselves. You have time for these characters to come into their own and kind of learn things. And the thing is, too, like, things like Oscar slowly coming around to working with the Truth Teller is something that would have worked a lot better on a week-to-week basis. Again, when we watch something on a week-to-week basis, we're using our own passage of time in reality to the characters. So week 1, Oscar's not on board, and he's trying to stay off camera as much as possible. By the time you get to week 2, he's like, okay, I will interfere a little bit. I'm going to give them a Sudoku puzzle, and we'll move on from there. And then it's like, there's an entire cut subplot with Oscar, which is bizarre because he's the only carryover character from The Office. But he develops his own puzzle, and that is completely ignored, because that's what he wins an award for. It's like he does the arts and entertainment beat, but he wins the award for his puzzle he creates. This puzzle where it's like a numbers puzzle that's meant to compete with Wordle. And it's like, there's a throwaway reference to, like, we need our own puzzle game like Wordle, because that'll get people to check out the Truth Teller. But at the same time, it's like, it's never mentioned that Oscar's the one who's going to develop that. And it's like, that's kind of a big deal. And it's like, I get that you want Oscar doing arts and entertainment because that's kind of his bag, and you get to play with that character a little bit, as we've seen him, on The Office. But it's just kind of a strange decision that it's like, that's never really mentioned. And it's the thing he's winning the award for. It's just kind of odd. And is this, like, I don't think the show is bad. I enjoyed it enough, and it's like I love the optimism to it, the idea that, like, you know, Ned is very much Leslie Knope. But again, the other issue is, like, because it's such a truncated schedule, characters flanderize very quickly. Ned is inconsistently competent episode to episode. Some days he has great interpersonal skills. Some days he's great as a reporter. Some days he's just blindly accepting everything that's being told to him without really questioning it. Some days he's, some days he's, he knows what he's doing. Like, there's a whole thing in the car when they're going to interview the cult. And, like, Ned looks completely incompetent in that episode. And I'm not entirely sure why, because it doesn't really add anything to it to make him look incompetent. It's not like they're lowering him to raise up Mare. Like, it's just kind of a weird thing all around. So I'm interested to see where they go in season 2. I think that where this is going to go season 2 is different from how they've done this in previous shows. Again, I'm using Parks and Rec and The Office as the two analogies, where it's like, I think this is going to end up where they're going to come back and they're going to be ignoring the kiss, and they're going to be, they're not going to be together, which would be an interesting choice. I'm interested to see if we get this on a year-to-year basis, if this is just like next September we get more of this. But again, I'm not sure why they decided to dump the whole thing out at once. I feel like that really harms the show. This is something that should have been week to week. It probably could have been network. I don't know. Like, I feel like the reason why it got bumped was because of NBC's programming shift, where they probably already started this, and then they got the order for They got the order for I haven't read into it. So, like, my assumption would be they started the show as an NBC, show. Then it got, NBC got the rights to stream the NBA, so they cut a bunch of their programming. Now we don't have room for this. And it's like, are we going to put this on our comedy night? Well, we have St. Denis Medical, which is also pretty funny, and we're going to, do we put these two back to back? And then it's like the question of, will people respond to this? So let's put it out on streaming and hope that it catches on there. Okay, but if we're going to put it on streaming, we can't do a 22-episode season. We should really just do a 10-episode season. It's kind of odd all around. I'm not entirely sure what the thought process there was, or what the thought process was to put it out and then have it go from week to week. I think it was 3 and then 7 weeks after that. If not that, it was 1 and then just continuing on for the continuing 9 weeks. But what was the thought process behind that shift? I don't think there's a good answer to that, and I think fundamentally that overall harms the show, because you don't get that space to breathe. And I think had it had a full 22 episodes, and you could have more, I hate saying filler, because filler feels very dismissive, and then on top of that, not only is filler as a term dismissive, but also it's a sitcom. It's technically all filler. And it kind of feels like, as you're watching, these are the key moments that need to happen. You need to have Esmeralda's her name. Esmeralda needs to hate Ned, and then they need to she needs to eventually put that behind her. You need to have the key moments in Ned and Mare's relationship, them fighting, them, the tension between them. That's the thing, is that, and I like Domhnall Gleeson in this, and Chelsea Frey, I think her name is. I think both of them are great together. I don't think they have great chemistry on the show. The people who have great chemistry are Nicole and Dietrich, Ramona Young, and I don't know the other actress name, which I didn't really care for her on Legends of Tomorrow. I thought Mona was very annoying, but she's great here. She's fantastic in this show. It's just kind of one of those things where I feel like there was definitely room to do something better. And I can see that, the key points are here for how this would have been a better show, but it's just not. They just don't click because you don't have that room between them. You can have all these great moments. You can have these great things, and you know, them discovering the gloves are clogging up the toilets and destroying the plumbing in Toledo. Like, that's something that should be toward the end of the season. Like, I feel like you need more to get to that point, because this is only a few episodes after you have people going out and talking about, you know, what's it called? Talking about, you know, how teenagers are pretending to be dogs, and they're just not questioning it. And Ned himself is trying to, what's it called? And Ned himself is trying to, you know, find a body at the morgue and coming off like a serial killer. Like, they get nominated for the award like 7 or 6 episodes after that, and there's really no sign of anything changing or improving, or anyone doing anything that would be like, this is a sign they're going to get to this point. And the other thing is too, it's like, one of the things that Parks and Rec did very well was turn Pawnee into a character. Like, very much what's going on in the city of Pawnee and how Pawnee is developing is a key part of that show. You can track Leslie's journey through what's different in Pawnee. That doesn't exist here, and the advancements in the truth teller should be something that we're tracking. And that's not something that happens. We don't get that, you know, look at what the truth teller is doing now, and look at it's bigger now, or they're doing more serious work, or like more people are reading it. We don't get that. It's still a failing local paper the entire way through, but it gets this award. So I would like to see them get a longer second season. I think that this is kind of what they need to do. Give a longer second season and do it week to week. I think there's definitely a case where that would work, and I think that that would be an improvement for the show, because you need space to breathe. Because that's the secret to any sitcom, be it, you know, The Office, be it Parks and Rec, be it you know, 30 Rock or The Goldbergs or anything like that. It may take a while for it to find its footing. It may take a few episodes. It may take a few seasons. Like, Parks and Rec really hits its stride around the end of season 2. Like, that's where you get the introduction of Adam Scott and Rob Lowe. That's where you get the, you know, the departure of Mark Brandanowitz, and it takes a while to get to that point. Like, look at The Office. Season 1 of The Office and Season 2 of The Office have entirely different lighting. The characters act different. There are characters who just vanish. Like, it is... Take the time to get to let the show breathe and get to know it. That's not what they're doing here by giving them 10 episodes and saying, like, well, you got this, figure it out. Which is unfortunate, because I think that had this show had that chance, it probably would have improved, and I would have enjoyed it more. It's not like The Office is a show that I'll put on while I'm working, or a show that I'll put on as I'm going to sleep. But so is Parks and Rec. So is Seinfeld. I don't see a second season of the paper improving the show in its current form to anything but that. And I think that the thing is, it's like, it's kind of the infection of serialized storytelling into sitcoms to an extent. The idea that, like, okay, well, what's the beginning and end of this season? Like, a sitcom doesn't need to have a big bombastic season finale where it's like, we were building to this, you know, this giant event at the end of the season. It's like, it's not like The Flash. It's not, you don't have to get to the end of the show and be like, oh, and this is what we were building toward. This is the giant climactic fight or something like that. Even police procedurals don't have that. Like, you may have something big or like expensive happen just to be like, oh, look, this is, you know, something during sweeps and get people to watch. But sitcoms are not that. Sitcoms are, you tune in every week, you get to know these people, and you'll laugh along with them. Like, it's something where, you know, I don't think that this show necessarily, this show is very much trying to hit the key points of the plot in this season. You know what it feels like, and this is going to sound silly, it feels like Aquaman. The first Aquaman movie, which is, we don't know that we're going to get to make a second one, so we're going to have to fucking throw everything we can in this movie and hope for the best. And that's what this is. We got to do the Jim and Pam relationship. We need to get to that moment at the end where the two of them kiss, and that's going to be the cliffhanger, just like it was on The Office. We need to get to, you know, we need to get the truth teller to the point where it's recognized and Ned actually has an accomplishment. And now, I think because you've done this, next season, I don't know what you do for an overarching story, unless you're going to do, like, well, we've conquered everything we have to do. How do we defend that title? And it's just, I don't know if that's necessarily something that, like, basically what Leslie does, you know, and after the Harvest Festival, it's like, what's our next big thing? How do we improve the paper further? But because we didn't get a sense of how much the paper is improving, like, it kind of feels weird. And I stand by. It's like, okay, well, this show's getting a season 2. I think there's a non-zero chance that we start getting characters from The Office. Maybe not primary characters from The Office, but, like, I think the groundwork is there. Since Oscar is working the entertainment beat, I think the groundwork is there for Daryl to show up. Because Daryl still works at Athlete, whatever it is. Like, that is, you know, that's something that could happen. That there's that window for that to happen. I think there's a non-zero chance that Astrid, Jan's daughter, shows up as a character. And by extension, Jan. Because Jan's daughter would be the right age where she would be in college or just about starting college. It's been 20 years since the show started, so, like, she'd be close enough in age that they could fudge those numbers and be like, well, here she is. Like, that's something that's possible. I think that, or it could be something where it's like, you know, you're not going to get, I don't think you're going to get John Krasinski back. I don't think you're going to get, like, I could see Rainn Wilson and Angela Kinsey showing up again, because the two of them are, like, I seem to recall Angela is from Toledo originally. Like, I could see her showing up. Especially considering Oscar is, Oscar is godfather to her and Dwight's kid. Like, that's something that is, I would say, not off the table. And I think that it's something where it's like, you don't do that season 1, but maybe you do it interspersed in season 2, which would be more the less the spin-off effect of how things normally work, and more the Mandalorian, where it's like season 2 of The Mandalorian becomes Cameo Fest. I think there's a chance that happens here with season 2 of this, because I wouldn't be surprised if ratings of this are fine, and it got picked up already, so, like, season 2 is gonna happen, so they're gonna pull out the stops to get to season 3. And I think the way you do that is like, oh, and we have a cavalcade of stars showing up from the original show. Or I could see them even bringing in stuff from Parks and Rec. Because, like, theoretically, Parks and Rec's not in, like, there's nothing about it that is directly in the same universe, but there were inklings of doing a crossover between the two at some point. But I think definitively, like, I think it's a no-brainer that Daryl shows up in season 2. I think that's an easy no-brainer, where it's like, we need someone who has access to get some famous people in here so we can talk, and then Oscar's like, well, I know someone who can get us in touch with athletes. Boom, there you go. Daryl shows up. I think John Krasinski's probably too busy to show up in season 2. And then, again, I think Angela's the other one, because I don't think she's really doing too much. And she can show up and be like, hey, here's your godson. Let's hang out for an episode and have some fun. And that's the kind of thing that's going to get fans of The Office who may not have tuned in this time to show up and be like, hey, that's it. And the other thing I think is interesting is that they talk about how Enervate is the name of the company, and they do paper products, which is why they buy Dunder Mifflin. And they say no one took the buyout. I don't know necessarily that that's entirely possible. Like, Oscar was the only one who took the buyout to move to Toledo. I think what they could do is, we didn't really see the office supplies side of things. We saw the toilet paper side of things, and we saw the newspaper. So what if they go to the office supplies part of thing, and it's like, oh, and here are other people who carried over? Because, like, based on the finale, they could bring in the guy who was it that played, I forgot who the actor was, but he was in something else after. The guy who after Stanley retired sat at Stanley's desk opposite Phyllis. And then there was also, they could also bring in the other two, Clark and Pete, because I could see them taking it. Especially considering they put in like, if they got to the point that two of them were still there in 2019, I could see them sticking around for the seniority. So that would be something else that they could do. I don't know. I'm not in charge of anything. That's just me speculating about what else they could do in the next season. Because I think that, based on what I saw of the show, and I haven't seen a ton of people really talking about it, and I think that kind of just comes with the territory of Peacock. The idea that Peacock doesn't have the massive subscriber base, which is why it's so cheap. Like, look, they increased the price to $7.99. It's still the cheapest subscription service I have. And I think the idea that it is a... What's going for here? That the idea that they're going to be... I forgot where I was going with this. I'm sorry. I'm very tired. It's been a long day. I enjoyed the paper. I would say check it out. Give it a chance. I think that, like, it's worth watching. Probably won't be my favorite show of the year, though. In a year where Andor and Daredevil came out, that's what's going to come down to, and I feel like Andor's going to be the one that ends up winning. But hey, you never know. We will see. It's on Peacock. It's available in its entirety. Season 2, I would assume, is coming next year. But until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.